What's good, Grassroots World? I'm Chris Logan,
I'm Ernie Barber.
and we are the Flagrant 2 podcast. Coach, what's happening, my guy?
I'm sporting the gear, the brand, baby. I'm sporting
Man,
it.
look at that right there. All right, good look, too.
No, good, good. No, hey, just glad to get back on and do another podcast. A lot to talk about, a lot of players. Obviously, there's some games in particular that are coming up, some games that have happened, a lot of movement, and then some of the same that we kind of expected based off of what we said earlier in the season. So, yeah, just looking forward to talking about some of it. There's always good basketball topics to discuss. So, and get your feedback on. So,
Absolutely. And I attended a bunch of games. Obviously, like I tell people, if I'm not at them, doesn't mean I'm not watching them because, to be honest with you, the best way to watch as many games as possible is nowadays is a
yep,
live stream. I
yep,
mean, I mean, is people always want to see you in person, and there's nothing like being in the gym, and nobody would know that more than me, and even you, and guys that live for this sport and live for advancing this sport and really put their heart and soul into basketball. But when you're talking about watching as many players as you can or as many games and score, it's just like being at home on ESPN and having your 20 channels that you can go through. It's so much easier to watch a ton of games and do some things like that. So been some big time matchups obviously that have already happened. Some big ones, including tomorrow night's matchup, which
can't wait
most
for
people
that.
have as the top two teams in 6A. PC North taking on Edmond Santa Fe in a rubber match, whatever rematch, I guess. And the first one ended with that, which was seen on a Okie Ball, every social media site, the lob that was to
Yep.
beat Murathai to win the game. And Santa Fe controlled a lot of that game as well. That
At
was the first
PC
game of the
North,
season.
at PC North as well.
Yes, this one
Those
is
that
at
want to
PC
know, at
North.
PC North, 7:30.
Yes, this one's at PC North. Obviously, a little bit different dynamic because Santa Fe, since that first matchup, has added Brian Hopgood, so they've got a 6'8" post player.
Yeah,
Will be interesting to see how he's incorporated into that game. Can he keep Nate Murathai from getting 10 dunks like he did the first game and stuff like that? But I think that that's a must see matchup, and I think that you're looking at whoever wins that game right now,
will
the
be the
number
same.
one team in 6A right now.
Totally
Doesn't
agree.
mean it
Totally
won't
agree.
change. Doesn't mean it won't change next week or when we get to the playoffs. But I think predominantly you would say that those are the two best teams, being that what Santa Fe has lost two games on the season,
Correct.
and Putnam City North hasn't even lost a game in Oklahoma.
Not in
So
Oklahoma. They're 7-0 in conference, and then 15-1 overall, which they lost outside of Oklahoma. So
yep, and if memory serves me, Santa Fe's, and I'm doing this without even looking it up, only two losses were a Broken Arrow, and they lost to PC North, obviously, in the
correct.
first game.
Yep.
So I mean that kind of puts it in a nutshell. These are good teams.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, that's District 3 right there, and those three teams, Putnam City North, Broken Arrow, and Edmond Santa Fe, are, when we look back at what we said at the beginning of the year, they were three of the top five teams that we had
yes,
preseason.
and obviously Owasso having injuries and
Yep,
things like that, it's tough. I
it's
mean
changed
Jalen
it.
going down, and I want to wish him nothing but the best. I mean he's been one of the better players that's come through Oklahoma in a long time, and it sucks for his senior year for that to be the case, but bright future ahead for
Yeah,
him, and I know that he's gonna come back stronger than ever. And then obviously, they have Julius Wilson, who's now off early to Kansas State to play football. So that's two giant pieces out of their rotation
yeah.
right now.
Oh yeah.
So tough. But with that said, I still don't count Owasso out and making a push to get to the state
You still
playoffs.
have some good players that can contribute and get them there. So yeah, I mean, but we can, we in the early season, there's a lot of things that can happen that'll change, what. And I'm not making excuses for anything that we put out there, because we put out based on what we had at the time,
Yeah.
which is always the case. Now, PC North and Edmond Santa Fe could have injuries too. I hope that doesn't happen. Obviously, definitely hope that doesn't happen for
Yeah.
many reasons. But you never know based on that. It's a physical sport. A lot of things happen. You just never know. And those two teams, if something happens, could change. It could change for anybody. So
And it just in just what you're saying, we look at just a team like Mustang, who went into the Bartlesville tournament and beat Owasso and Broken Arrow, which Broken Arrow had prior beat them, and I mean they really dominated that tournament, and they end up winning the championship in that.
It's
And
wide open.
you just look at it's any given. And I talked to obviously a lot of players, parents, coaches. We look back at Deer Creek's run last year, and no one is out of it. If you get hot at the right time in the state playoffs, you can win. I mean, you just got to win a couple games, and you can get yourself all the way there.
Yeah,
So
I've always said this too. Confidence is about 80% of being a great basketball player individually. The same thing goes for a team. If you can't, team gets confident at the right time, you just can't account for it. It takes you to a whole nother level. So it's going to
yeah,
be.
I still look for all of those teams to be in the mix, but obviously tomorrow night, Santa Fe, PC North, I think it's going to be a good game. I know Santa Fe wants their get back. Santa Fe has just been really good. If you
Yes,
watch
they
them
have.
as of late, they're coming on strong. Their young guys are growing. TJ Newton, which we talked about him in the prior, he's their legitimate go-to scorer, but it's all those other guys around him. Money Robinson has been doing really well for them running point guard.
Yes.
Uh, some of the other young guys, Joshua
I saw that
Baba.
early in the season and preseason. I watched him. I got to focus and watch him play, and a kid plays with amazing pace. I mean, it's relentless,
Yep.
relentless. So
And I just think that they've got some guys, some pieces that are really they're not even close to the ceiling yet, but they've got such a high ceiling. Joshua Baba, obviously Jojo Baba's a senior. He's brings it every night. Such a physical, 6'6" guy that can handle and really play everywhere on the floor. Really, there's not one
versatile,
spot
yeah.
you can pencil him in. He can do a lot of everything. But it's to me Brian Hopgood and how he's going to fit in with them as they continue to work with him in gel because they're an up and down team, and he's a
Yes.
big guy. So it's got to come together for them to win the whole thing. But it's right out there in front of them, and I'll tell you this: no one will handle that situation better than the guy that they have at the helm in Terry Evans because he's done it in so many other places and at
Yep.
so many other
I
times.
just I just say this. I mean, they get him to rim run and play defense and rim run. He's going to get dunks. He's going to get layups, putbacks, offensive boards. I mean, a guy that size with that kind of ability, you have him rim run and get up and down the floor if his conditioning is what it needs to be. I mean, I don't know that you beat them. I don't know how you beat them if they because they're relentless with pace. If he can play with that pace and take advantage of it and get block shots and get him out on the break and then rim run whenever he has opportunities, look out. Look
Yep,
out.
and I think that also gives them the ability to play two different complete styles. Is that you can sit him for periods of
Yep.
time
It's a
and
good
go
point.
smaller, which is not really small when most of their wings are 6'4". Dwayne McKinney. I mean, we're not even. There's guys we're leaving out of here that are 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and they have a plethora of them. It's why I said on
And they're
X.
great athletes too. They're
Yep.
great athletes. So
And it's why I said on X, I want to see Millwood versus one of these two teams. And it's not that I don't think Millwood might not win, because right now Millwood is obviously playing at a supreme level.
yes.
Ever since Millwood took a loss to an Arkansas team, they have looked unbeatable. The games aren't really close, barring Crossings Christian, who had a lead on them kind of late, and I don't even think Millwood played their best game in that game.
Yeah.
Um, every other game has been double digits they've been up by in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
It's been
There might have been
really
a point in time where it was close, but they pull away and they make the plays when they need to. They tighten up and it's over
but
quickly.
But for the simple fact of argument's sake, to say best team, I'm just saying now the only teams they haven't played is the best teams in 6A. So and it may go the same way, but we won't know unless we saw it. And
They're
obviously,
certainly in the conversation. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Beating Douglas handily, obviously Booker T beating them handily at Booker T. I mean, that there's no doubt. And and I know we'll talk about this regarding the Gatorade Player of the Year. I think that should come into play too in terms of who gets that, who wins and has had a fantastic. And I would just say everybody talks about it. It's strictly this year, but I would also say that if you have credibility years before, that certainly doesn't hurt your case. And if you're consistent it certainly adds to the foundation of being that player. And I think there are probably some players you'll talk about that might have
Absolutely.
that
We'll
foundation.
go over a short list of guys that to me are in the running for that here in a minute. But I mean, I just wanted to continue to talk about it. And obviously, you mentioned it. Millwood taking on Booker T in the Battle of the Turnpike, as they called it, which, hey, heck of a game. Wish I could have been there if my son didn't have a wrestling tournament. Then I would have damn sure been there. But it is what it is, and family always will come first with me. So
Yep.
it is what
Good.
it is. I live to see another game, and
You
family's
will.
all good. So anyways, great game. I did watch it. I had my phone out. I was watching it, trying to, and for 1 second, I'm not going to write off Booker T. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people take too much out of each game. I look at it like whatever happened after that game, those two teams are the respective favorites in their class,
Yeah.
regardless of what happened in that game.
Yep.
Booker T to me is an overwhelming favorite in 5A, and same with Millwood in 3A. It's just who will test them, who will even give them a game when it comes playoff time. I think that in the same way that Millwood took their loss out of state, I think that's just going to piss off and rev up the Booker T Hornets, and I do think you're going to see Jock Mitchell at the next, like, the best you've seen him. I think it's going to just elevate him, and I think that you're going to see those guys come out and literally swarm people more than they maybe already have the rest of the season. And I think that that's what they've done. So I obviously think Mason Matulis had a really nice game in that. I think he stepped up and hit some big shots in that third quarter. But, Millwood had control of that game. And I know, you texted me, what did I think would happen to that game? And I said to you that I thought that the Millwood others have been very consistent this year. And that to me was kind of the difference in that game in a sense. You got what you got from Isaiah Wilkes. You got what you got from Amari Barrett, obviously, but it's those other guys, the Chris Clays of the world, the Bryce Browns of the world, the defense, the Javier Richards, their defensive and tenacity never wavers, Millwood.
I
That's
would
why.
say one of the things I noticed too, and one thing you always can tell about a great team is one, they take on the attitude of their coach, one, and two, that they don't step down no matter who's on the floor. And lastly, I think the biggest thing and the most important thing is all those guys on that team know what their role is when they come into the game. They don't try to do things that they're not capable of doing. They stick to their role and they do it very well. And they know who they can count on for certain things, and they do it. And so that it's a well-oiled machine. They've played together. Some of the kids have grown up in the system and into what Dorian's doing. So their time is now, and they've got the right leadership as seniors that are kind of lead and anchor the team, and then they've got young guys coming in, knocking down shots and doing and filling in some of those gaps that maybe that they might have had 2 years ago or last year. So
And I just think to piggyback on that, I think that we know that Amari and Isaiah get the love, but it really shows me the competitive and the winning of Jonathan Van Buren. I really am adamant about him being one of the best, unsigned seniors in Oklahoma that to me absolutely can play at the Division I level, whether he'll have to go to another level. And then eventually he's going to get there anyways, because the body, the skill set, it's all there. He's just a winner. I mean, people don't know the kid was on Edmond North when they were really good. And then ever since he's been on Millwood, all they did is win. So I think that people undervalue Slim Van Buren. I certainly don't. He knows that, but I mean, I feel like he's not talked about enough. He's so consistent that sometimes people don't talk about him, but every night he goes out there and does what it takes for his team to win.
he
And
does things and where it makes it look easy and simple. That's the sign of a really good basketball player.
yeah, and I think about at 6'4", and looks like he weighs 205, 210 of all muscle. He's a big physical kid that to me, that's why I always continue to talk about things. And people, they don't know with what I do, why I say what I say about certain kids. There's things that I point out about their physical attributes and being able to handle from day one. It's because I know what's going to get him on the floor and what coaches are looking at and but that's takes doing this for a living. And
Well, I think that I'm just going to expand on that because I think you understand what coaches are looking for. You talk to coaches every day. And the body is the first thing they all look at. Is his body capable of playing at our level? And then is he athletic enough, to be able to guard? Those are the first two things that they look at. And then after that, all the intangible stuff. And, is he a winner? Does he, what are his grades look like? I mean, all those other things come into play.
Yeah, all
But
the intangibles.
the body is the first thing they look at, and then can he play defense? Can he guard in my conference? Who I'm going to have him guard? And because that guy he's going to have him guard is going to be 22, 23, or 24 years old.
Yeah. Yep. And that's where very few kids,
Yes.
and Jonathan Van Buren is one of them, that is built like a 22 or 23-year-old grown man. So I know that the physical play will not, bother him. It's just all about the right fit. It's all about the right fit and finding a coach that needs what you do and what your values are and attributes and all that stuff. So he's going to be a good college player. I know he's going to get where he wants to get. It's just a matter of when and if. Not if, but when. But anyways, that's touching on that game. I would love to, like any of these games, I'd love to see a rematch. That's the good thing about the district play, and all the negative things that I've talked about and posted about it. I don't think the games are normally that competitive. I don't care what people want to post and say, well, this, that, and the other. There's not a perfect solution. And
No, there
so
isn't.
I understand that. And so I can't give them a perfect answer, but I also know when something doesn't look good either. I can
Correct.
say that as well. It doesn't mean I have every answer. We don't all have every, answer in the world, but the districts ain't it for me. But the one good thing is that they get to play two times. And in the case of PC North, Santa Fe, which we bring it back to, they're going to get to have their rematch tomorrow night. That should be a great one. And then, obviously that will lead to a front runner in 6A. But like we talked about, there's a lot of other teams that when they get there, I think the Norman Tigers to me are coming on strong right now. I don't know if everybody's paying attention
I
because
am. That's one I was going to bring up. That's one I was going to bring up.
preseason we put them at number 2. So I know when we did our preseason 6A, and that's all we got to this year, but due to scheduling, but we and I've gotten a lot of I've gotten a lot of emails and messages about what happened to the small school ball and scheduling, and we got right in, it was already too late
We'll
into the
talk about a
season.
couple of each of the teams on this podcast later in the podcast about each of the other who we think is
Absolutely,
favorite.
but they like. I love that people look forward to our preseason preview because I believe nobody does it better when it comes to breaking down the individual
Yep.
players and
Yep.
teams. I do think that that's what the niche of this show is and what we specialize in. And like I always say, everybody has their lane, man. You just got to know where it's at. And I love what we're doing for the advancement of the game, advancement of the kids. I love some of the other stuff that's out there. Everybody does their own thing, and it is what it is. But anyways. I think that, like you said, we back to Norman. I just feel like it's those others that we talked about at the beginning of the year, and guys that familiarly, and Gideon Holt, guys like that are stepping up right now. And
Role players. Yeah.
when Norman plays like that, they're dominating people. They're looking really good right now. So
Yeah, they beat Piedmont that came in, super hot into that game with one loss,
yeah,
and literally just dominated them. Dominated them. So Norman is one of those teams that I think if they're playing good basketball, they're going to be extremely hard to beat, and I could see them in the finals playing for a gold ball. Um,
absolutely.
I,
They
I
got all
just
the pieces to do
they
it.
got all the pieces. It's just like you said earlier in the pod, is that timing and guys gelling and coming together at the right time. And I had a feeling that Norman was going to be at the top of the heap, and I still think that that's the case. I think the last couple years, and not bashing on Norman because I've always picked them because I like what they do, but I also want to say they've underperformed the last couple years at state. They've gotten there and then they've had an opportunity with a good draw and just underperformed. So it happens. They're kids, they're young people. In college, it's the same thing. People underperform. They get in the lights come on, and some people respond, some people don't. There's a myriad of reasons why and why not, right? But that's what makes this so exciting is that these kids are playing well, and they can, if you get hot at the right time, anybody can win. Just like you said, Deer Creek last year, nobody picked Deer Creek to win the state title last year. Nobody did.
No, nobody. And back to Norman, they've got the right mix of guys. I mean, when we look at it, they've got guys with high basketball IQ and Aiden Cooper Kelly, Bo Billingsley, running the guard. Then they got the energy ball and Montrell Combs Pierce. They've got some size on the perimeter with shooting and defensive in Case and Robinson. Then you throw Gideon in there. They've even got some young guys and Luke Knowles, some guys that are playing a few minutes right now, be big pieces for them going forward. They've got some guys that can step up and do some things. It's all about matchups.
Yes.
It's all about matchups and getting hot at the right time. Absolutely, Norman. Norman can win the whole thing. I mean, we got to be real. You can't rule anybody out that we know. And there's about 5 teams to me in 6A that you can't say one of them won't win, because
totally agree.
It's up in the air. And I think that is just going to be who comes together at the right time. Now, with that said, Norman has a lot of upperclassmen. So that to me might play into the playoffs, as where some of these other teams that we love, PC North, Edmond Santa Fe, and even Mustang, a lot of them are led by young guys, sophomores. I mean, we used to look at a sophomore as a baby. Like that's now because these guys are the guys, they're their star player. They're carrying their teams in a lot of avenues and ways. We got to look at that. And I look at it and go, Bo Billingsley, man, played in a lot of games, been there. Aiden Cooper Kelly, been there. Case and Robinson knows what it takes to win one. So in these championship teams, the players who has been there before. Now, we talked about it a minute ago. Terry's been there before. Trey has been there before.
At different levels.
Has been there before. We know that. So matter of fact, that Edmond North team that Coach Evans had was like 27-0. They didn't even lose.
Yeah, that was arguably the best team. Well, one of there's another team too, but came from Midwest City back in the day too.
Yes,
that I got to see personally, and I that's the best high school team I've ever seen.
And I talked to Coach Evans just recently about some of those teams. Obviously, and he sticks on the 1999 team. I did not live in Oklahoma yet, but I caught the 01, 02-ish teams. And they were about as dominant of basketball teams as you're going to see, with Sheldon Williams down low and D'Angelo Alexander. So many guys that they had that went on to have great careers, but just the way that they played, those old Midwest City teams look like college teams now. Like the way that they were built in every sense of the imagination and position. They were something to behold. But that Edmond North team he had was special. And I think that team doesn't get enough love. I don't want to say they get lost in the sauce as a 27-0 team, but they don't get brought up enough with the great teams that we've had in Oklahoma.
It'd be interesting to have him talk about that, actually.
Yes.
Which one would you take? It's just like the Kobe Jordan thing. Which one, when you ask, what's his name, the head coach, which one would you pick? You coach both of them. And he comes back to this right here, the hand. Yeah. The claw. Jordan had the hands that Kobe didn't have. So
I would have been okay if I was a head coach. I'd be okay with either having Kobe.
Oh yeah, you can go wrong.
Having Shaq wouldn't have mattered.
No. But to your point, back to Coach Evans, you can't go wrong with choosing Edmond North or the Midwest City teams because they were both outstanding teams. So.
So I think that's obviously going to come into play as we get closer to the game. But the players between the lines, there hasn't been a lot of recent success as far as going far in state for a lot of those teams.
Which is what makes it exciting because you don't know what's going to happen.
It is, and that's why I can't throw out Owasso or Broken Arrow because they have been deep into the playoffs for many years. As of recently, I mean, we know Owasso, they know what it's like. So I can't write any of them off. I know what they're missing, but I'm still going to tell you this right now. You don't want to play them. They're going to be a tough outcome. And I do believe that they're going to go to the state playoffs.
Yeah, I still do too. I think so too. I mean, I look at it this way. I know some people may disagree. There's a lot more firepower on the West side this year collectively.
Yeah, no question.
In the last couple of years, the East has had some really, fire. You've had Union that was good. You obviously had Broken Arrow, and then Owasso. Those three have been regulars and been real competitive and won games at state here in the last 2 or 3 years.
I know we're only going to talk about a few teams in this episode, but Union would be one that I'm telling you is going to upset somebody when it gets to the playoff time this year.
Yep.
So and Coach Norris, another one that knows what it takes to get there. I'm telling you right now, they're going to definitely beat somebody, and we're going to say Union got in there again. So I mean, how
There's going to
quickly
be
we
one or two that are going to do it. And
and
I
how
even
quickly.
said, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say how quickly we forget Union was just in the championship game
Correct.
last year. So
Correct.
it goes, you're in and you're out that quickly. We people forget so fast, but not what we do. So obviously, those are some teams we want to see in 6A. In 5A, we talked about Booker T. I still
Yeah,
believe that they're the cream of the crop. I
I do
don't
too.
think that they're falling off the planet over one loss of a game. I think this just only motivates them to come back, stronger than ever. When it gets into 4A, I obviously recently watched um, Douglas just play Heritage Hall. And this will take care of two of those teams, one 3A, one 4A. Was a great game. Went to overtime. Heritage Hall. If Heritage Hall could have got some offense, some rebounds, because they got killed on the boards,
Yeah.
they might have won that game because
Mhm.
Douglas just kept so many balls alive, too many second chance opportunities in that game. But I really saw a lot from Monty House, who we talked about on the show, maybe the last pod we did. Saw a lot from him. Obviously, Zio and Jamel Morris, the seniors, they continue to carry that team. And they came out with a big win. And obviously, Douglas is ranked number one right now. I still think Crossings Christian will be a team that will match up with them at some point,
I do
and
too.
we'll see what that is. When that does happen and how that goes. Obviously, Crossings can shoot the leather off the ball, so when that happens, they're tough to beat. Obviously, the emergence of Bo Barber, we've talked about it in
Yeah.
the last one.
I like their
you know,
strength of schedule too. Crossing has had a good strength of schedule in state. They played a lot of good tournaments against some really top tier teams, which is going to prepare them well. And obviously Douglas does that as well. They go outside of state to play some good tournaments, and then playing some of the better teams in the other classes. Obviously Millwood and some of the others. So they're both going to be well prepared to play down the stretch. And that's why
yes,
I tend to like both of those teams as well. Because
yeah, and obviously back in 4A, your Cassia Halls of the world, I think
that's
they're going to be there in
they're going to
here.
be there as well.
You love what Memphis Duffy does and Dallas Lowe, but they've also got some guys in Roman Poindexter who's come over there and made a huge difference. Conkle on the team hitting threes. I mean, they got shooters all around those guys. So I really like the makeup of that Cassia Hall team. I think they're going to go far. Fort Gibson is
There
in the
you go.
mix. Obviously, when you've got Cooper Hackett down low, there ain't many that can stop that man when he gets going. He's a top 3 player in the country in football, but he's a load on basketball. And I've said it for 3 years now. He would have been D1 in basketball if he wanted to. If he
That
focused.
the guard play for Fort Gibson as well has been really really good as well,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
No,
think that's going to
Cody
yes,
Scott is
Brody
one.
Scott.
So I mean, they got some good guards. They're going to be in the mix. I like the experience of Crossings versus Douglas, though. I do. If they're on opposite ends, I like it. They don't have to play each other prior. I kind of like where that's headed, and we can see that. But then on the other side of that, the game that I attended, 3A, I really think Heritage Hall. They're probably a year away because of what Dorian's
Yep.
got going at Millwood, and that's a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to like there, and you can't say enough about Timothy Young as a freshman and how he stepped up. I've seen and I've watched Timothy a long time. I covered Timothy. Timothy got player of the game in Nogi ball in like 7th grade or whatever it was.
I remember.
And I rarely go and cover middle school games, but I have covered a few. And he was in there for that. And just the growth in his game in the last since spring of this past year to now, he's come so far. And I see so much in his game that I like. I mean, that kid there's probably not many that got as much pressure on him as he is to produce. And he continues to live up to it and build his own path. And I know if I can ever speak to Timothy, and when I do, it's all about blazing your own path.
Yep.
And that's what you got to do.
Now, you're not your brother. Just be who you are. That's all that matters. That's
be
all.
you. And different than his brother, he's more of an off guard. He's more of a scoring guard, and he relishes that role. Real quick release. I really like. He's very fundamentally sound. Like he's one of the only few players left that you watch that like does a lot of things in the triple threat position anymore, and it works and it's effective, and you can tell that's from his training, and he's really good. His court vision is really good. He makes a lot of plays. I think he could average a lot more assists if it need be, but they need his firepower, and he's just showing such a maturation in his game. He's quickly to me become he's right there at the number 1 or 2 guy in that class right now, based off of what he's done production.
Yeah,
Because if we're looking at it production
that's what
wise,
matters. That's what
he
matters.
starts for a varsity team that's a top 3 team in its class, and in a night in, night out, he's, if he's not the best player, he's one of the best players for them every night. So really proud of what he's doing, and looking for a bright future from Timothy Young, but also love what some of their other guys do. Xavier Embro at point guard. There ain't many people that can stay in front of him.
Yep.
He's super quick, and he's just becoming a better guard. He can always score it. I see some things in him and his playmaking abilities that have gotten better. Defensively, I think is where he could really take it to the next level if he would lock in, because with that quickness and he's got good length and wingspan and things like that, I think he could be a really good defensive guard. Just got to take his game to the next level. And then obviously, Braylon Bradshaw to me, does everything down, walking double down there. I think he continues to, we keep moving his ceiling of where it could be. He's obviously a Division I talent. What level of Division I? That's still up in the air. That's up to him. He's got to continue to keep working and advancing his game. But he's shown a lot to like. He plays the 4 for them. He has to. I mean, he's really got a lot of people want to see Boogie play out on the perimeter, but a lot of teams in Oklahoma, they're going to force him down low.
Yeah, at the 4A level with his size and skill set, that's generally where they're going to set you, because they need you to fill that role. It's not necessarily that you're going to play that at the next level, or even in spring and summer ball, because the higher the level, the bigger the size, and expand your role a little bit. Yeah,
it's stepping outside of your comfort zone that some of these guys have to do, because naturally you're more physical and athletic than everybody. So naturally I'm going to get into paint, and I got great footwork and I got a soft touch. I'm going to get my buckets, but expanding the game out to the perimeter is what's going to make him a true, big time prospect that everybody's going to be all over. It's there. The tools are there. It's just putting it all together. I absolutely think he's trending in the right direction. And then, the last guy for them, Porter Gillespie, he does nothing but knock down big shots. Hits a bunch of threes for them. And
I think that's the big equalizer for them, is shooting the basketball. If they shoot the basketball well, I feel like they can play with anybody. And I think you've got a couple other teams that could maybe represent 3A outside of Millwood. I don't see Millwood not getting the state title game, and personally, I don't see Millwood not winning it. But I think between Heritage Hall, maybe Kellyville and Roland, I think those 4 teams.
Roland and Kellyville are absolutely good teams. But yes, I mean, when we're talking about Millwood being the best team, maybe out of in any class,
possibly,
it's tough to be in 3A and go against them. That's why I said Heritage Hall might be a year away. I love some of the guys on Roland and DeMonte Owens and Cade Shook. I love them. They played in the state playoffs last year. They've got some experience. Roland will be a dangerous team come playoff time. As well as Kellyville. Kellyville has had some experience in the playoffs in the state tournament last year. They're going to be teams that have been there and done that.
Roland's been a powerhouse for a long time in terms of basketball. Roland's always been good. So I think those are the 4 teams I see, and it just so happens to be that they're the top 4 teams currently.
Well,
but you've got other teams too.
And in Roland's case, they're 2028s that run. So again, it's like I said about Heritage Hall, they may be a year away from winning it all. Same with Roland. Like they're going to be in that mix again next year, barring we know the transfer portal, love it or hate it, whoever comes in and goes out. I got to imagine Heritage Hall is going to get some pieces.
So that's typically what happens there. They get pieces. They don't give up a lot because of the way it's structured to go to school there. So yeah, you're going to have some kids, some schools that have advantages year over year. And if you have an opportunity as a school to be competitive for 1 year, take advantage of it and win one. And then, you know what? Guess what? You can say you won last year, and it'll probably yield you a couple couple players maybe even transferring in the following year because they want an opportunity to win a state title. So
Well, I mean, I think that that's exactly it, and I think that that's where we get into now 2A, and obviously there,
mm,
Dale is going to be the heavy favorite once
yeah,
again. I think that you couldn't, you know, mention 2A without talking about Dale, and they're going for their fifth championship in a row. We talked about them in the last spot. Keldon Mealy coming along. Um,
really like
you
his
know,
game. Really like
it,
what he
it,
brings.
it is just to me. There's gonna be some competitors in there, but I just don't know if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna get.
I see OCA being, obviously really, really tough now that some pieces have come back. They're
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna get ready to head to was the play of Matt Mason and then obviously Carter Coleman coming back. I love OCA. I love some of the pieces that they have. Let me tell you right now, they're a fun team to watch. They're exciting. They give you the dunks and the three. Like they pass the eye test. It's just going to be, can they handle the machine of Dale? I can't wait to see that game. I hope that game
Yeah,
comes.
I look forward. I hope that game happens too because that'll be one of the funner games to watch. Uh, in maybe in all classes, I don't know. It's going to be really if those two get matched up in the finals in state, that's going to be a must-watch game.
Absolutely. I would love to see like Keldon Mealy versus Carter Coleman, and then obviously Denton Forsyth versus Matt Mason, because
Yeah,
Matt Mason might be the most slept on kid in
yeah, no,
Oklahoma. He
I
should
totally agree. I was just getting ready to say that Matt Mason's probably one of my favorite players, especially in that class in the
yeah.
state. I think what he brings to the table, he's a fantastic basketball player, and I think he's an NCAA level player right out of high school. And I don't think it. I know it. It's just whether other coaches have that need and they are aware of him. Obviously, in Oklahoma, if you've got a need for a player like him, I mean, he's 6'4". He's a good athlete. He's got high IQ. He can shoot. He can handle. He can play D. He can do everything well.
Yeah.
I really like him. He's definitely somebody. He's top on my list as far as guys that not a lot of people are talking about and need to talk about more.
Absolutely, and he's explosive, and he's got great size and physicality for a guard. So I mean, I think he's got all the tools. But his counterpart that just came back from injury, Carter Coleman, could end up being one of the top 2, 3 prospects in the entire state. I mean, we're talking about he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, he projects really, really well. Obviously, size, length. He spreads the floor. He can shoot the basketball fairly well. I think at the next level, I think one of the things over the next couple years, he's going to have to really develop his body and get in the weight room. But I think he's going to project high nationally, not just in Oklahoma. And you've talked about him for a number of years. I happen to know the young man personally because
Yep.
his older brother played for me for a number of years. But yeah, he's going to be he's one of those that we could see play in the league someday if he continues to grow and develop as he has thus far.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they're a team like that. Kind of people prior to the season kind of had them under the magnifying glass, and then obviously with Carter being out, they took some lumps and bumps. But I think maybe that only will help them in the long run. It's just like you said, can anybody get past Dale? I mean, going for their fifth championship in a row. We
When you've
talked
been
about
there, done that for multiple times, and obviously, I mean, Denton has, I mean, he stepped up big all year long, and he's the guy now. It's his turn to be the guy,
it. Yeah,
and I think there's no doubt he's taken that role on. He had a great spring and summer, got offers, obviously going to Tulsa next year, so he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Now he just has to go win a gold ball and enjoy his senior year. I think a lot of pressure's off of him and he can just go and play. And I think that's a dangerous, thing for anybody playing against him.
absolutely a dangerous combination. So I think that obviously there's some other teams I believe that in that we talked about. Like I think Wewoka, and I also think Pecola will always be in the mix.
Always
Um,
are. Always
always
are.
are. But I do think that Wewoka is kind of a young. They're led by like 3 sophomores, so
Yeah.
I think that they've got a lot of pieces for the future. I think that you're looking
28
at.
kids. A lot of 2028 kids.
Yes, and I think that, and like Ladarius Woods, and there's some other guy, Bill Stevens. you're looking at them as like the next team that may have a run in them. OCA is obviously going to be there as long as they keep those pieces and they stay in 2A and all that stuff. Same with them. I think that those are your teams looking forward to the future. I just think, again, what you said about Dale, it's just going to be tough. So that's that. In Class A, I mean, Okarchi is a machine.
I watched a little bit of them, and the pace that they play at is stupid. I mean, they pace you into. They're like a race dog or racehorse that just runs you into the ground until you just can't breathe anymore. That's kind of what it feels like.
And then there's some couple team. Obviously, Caddo. OK is up there again.
Yep.
I think OK has been in a lot of big games over the last. I look for OK and Okarchi to probably match up, but I mean, it wouldn't. It's obviously going to be teams like Caddo and them that are in there, and Cyril, and I know that those guys. Obviously those are teams that I don't get to see on just a day basis.
I'm familiar with one outside of that, Southwest Covenant. They've got some good pieces on the team. It's just pulling it together and beating the big teams. When they play against some of the bigger teams in that conference, they tend to underperform. So they've got a new coach this year. And so, he's been in the system, I think, obviously, as assistant in the past. So I think that's another team that could really come along. But they've had opportunities to play some of those other teams early and haven't responded to it. But they're a team that's got good talent, good players, good size, versatile, that could be a sleeper in that division. But we'll see. I think you're right. I think OK and obviously Okarchi are two that have been there, done that, and understand what it takes. Because coaches that get there and have done it, they understand it and they're prepared for it. And that's something, if you haven't been there, I think you don't have that in your tool bag. And sometimes there's a lot of unknowns with that. And you don't want unknowns when you get into the state finals.
And obviously, like a team like OK, they have a kid in Chase Clark who's going Division II to NSU. It's like, when you got a guy at that level that's got some size and some skill, and he's whatever he's at, 1,500 points, whatever he's at, like that kid can play. Like he's going to be a mismatch for most teams in Class A every night. But so is Jet Mugenberg, and he's a mismatch every night. So that they play somebody, and obviously what you said, the pace of pace of Okarchi is unmatched in any class. I mean, I think they average something like 90 points a game, and their time of possession and how many possessions that they have. I want to say I saw a status. It's like astronomically higher than everybody.
It's almost double what most teams get. I noticed that too.
So that's kind of just a quick little rundown of late season on some of the teams that we like, contenders, possible dark horses, but really teams that we think are going to be there. It's just going to be tough. Because obviously there's some teams that in each division, 6A to me could be the most open of all of them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think 6A, there's a lot of talent in 6A. It's a lot of young talent, to your point. And I think that young talent is it's hard to determine if you haven't been there before, so you don't know what you're going to get sometimes from game to game because they're still learning how to win. I think coaching comes into that play, and who's coaching those teams will make a big difference in getting those guys to play consistent basketball. So there's a lot of unknowns that's going to happen, but that's what's going to make it exciting. I did want to say one thing in a couple podcasts ago. I said this, and I was incorrect in saying this, so I'm going to correct it. Is that Trae Young did go to the state finals? He did it his junior and senior year. They just didn't win it. I wanted to correct that because I was thinking he didn't make it his senior year, but he did, and but they just didn't win the finals. So I wanted to come back, and if I'm incorrect on something, I want to come back and respond to it. So
I think that's the year that I think I might have said it on. I think that's the year PC West won.
That is
that championship.
That is.
But anyways, we wanted to transition from that to something that I had been talking about for the last couple of weeks. We do it player of the year. I know some of the people that it picks it, and it is kind of a sore spot to some because of the way that it's picked. And people, but any award is politics based to an extent. Anything in life, anything we give. Employee of the month, employee of the year, teacher of the year, whatever you want to say, that there's always that comes in. And Gatorade Player of the Year is no different. But I do think that this year, there's some guys that are kind of separating themselves, and then a particular one that is. And I got to say this, Jalen Montnati is its back-to-back winner of that. If he's not hurt, he's in this conversation
Right.
as
Oh, 100%. If he's not hurt, I'd say he's probably the front runner for it, because when you have two and you're not hurt and you're playing on a state, obviously if he's playing and healthy, that they legitimately are a top contender in 6A. I don't know how you pick anybody other than him if he's playing and playing good basketball and he's there. But continue, because I think I know
yeah.
where you're going. So
Yeah, but so when I say that, I go with, and I said this a few weeks back when Millwood played Crossings Christian, and I was just looking at it. Jalen is out. Isaiah Wilkes has went head to head with a lot of the other guys on this list, and team has won, and team success is incorporated in this
yep,
award. Whatever you
winning
want to say,
matters.
it is.
Winning matters.
So it matters, and he's looked great. Isaiah Wilkes, to me, is a high major point guard. He's going to go to Louisiana Lafayette. He's going to develop his body, and as soon as he puts on some strength and size onto
Yep.
that frame, he's going to have his chance.
He's only going to get more explosive the more he gets in the weight room. He's only going to get better as he learns to play against grown men. He'll get to where he's going to be the player that you're talking about. 100%.
It's the and I have a clip, and I might put it out. Like, I have some stuff from him his freshman year for Deer Creek when he would come in off the bench, and you could just see the explosiveness. But from where he is then to now, it's the development in he was always a great defender. He was always a great energy guy. It's his shooting that's gotten it,
Yep.
it's elite now.
Yep.
His mid-range game and his three, it's almost automatic when he pulls up from mid-range, but it's also his three-pointer. His shooting, his mechanics look great. You can see the work he's put in.
Yeah, from last year to this year, he's made a huge jump in that area on an offensive outside game. He's really, really developed there and improved. You can tell he's put the time in and gotten better.
Absolutely. And it's like when your dad is a NBA coach, they probably look at it like when the season ends, just like an NBA team is. Like, what is it that we have to work on to get better in this area? And you can see literally day by day, month by month, what he's worked on and how good he's become. I said it 3 years ago. He should be nationally ranked. He still should be. He's one of the best point guards in the United States of America.
He's not even. He doesn't even have 3 or 4 stars next to his name, does he?
I mean, they might consider him a 3-star. I mean,
I was going to say he should have that.
And not that rankings may matter to everybody, but they matter to what I do. Because
it drives the recruiting, and that's the big thing for him. Is it drives the recruiting, and that's where you're saying. I think if he were recruited appropriately with the right people, that would change that recruitment for him.
I stand on whatever limit is that Louisiana Lafayette is getting a star. Like, they're getting a guy who could absolutely play. He's going to play now. With that said, he might love it there and stay all 4 years. That part I don't
for him
know.
If he does.
But he will have the opportunity, in my opinion, to end up back in the SEC or back in the Big 12 sooner than later. And I think that it's just all about getting hit that college weight room. Sometimes it's just about maturity. Your body has to mature.
Well, and you learn how to play the game too. I think when you get around grown men that are playing in a system and playing around a coach's culture and what they do, you get better that way too. He's just got to understand what they do and how they do it, get in the weight room and learn all the things that he needs to. That's where it's always really helpful. I know football does this a lot of times where guys go in the spring the year before and they really immerse themselves in the program, the off season, and then they really they're ready to come out and play as a freshman in some cases. I think, there's a lot of kids in coming out of their senior year. If they could go in a semester early and do that, it would, and he's definitely one of them. I think he's got he checks all the boxes.
I mean, that's what it is that, we got guards undersized in height, may be the only thing that you could aim at, but there's guys that are playing in the SEC and the Big 12 right now. They're just typically a little older, so they have the physical strength to handle that. I think that's where, but like you just said, he checks every other box.
Yes.
And I feel like with that, along with his body development, at that level, it's just going to project him out to
Yeah,
play. He's
totally
going to
agree.
play somewhere really big one day, and it would not shock me if it happens sooner than what many think, because I think he's got all the skills. So obviously, I said during the Crossings game he was the front runner for that. He, obviously after the Booker T game, a lot of people have said that now, and rightfully so. He's went head to head with most of the good players in Oklahoma, and he continues to come out on the right side of that. So
Yeah, he's the front runner. I don't think there's any doubt about it. He's the front runner and should be, because if you're in the discussion in the first place and then you outperform the others that are in the discussion, you can't dispute it. And you could say arguably he's on the best team in Oklahoma. If they win another state title, all this stuff kind of plays into it. I don't see anybody beating them in 3A. I just don't.
no, and that was going to lead me to my next part, is where I think another guy that is in that mix is on the same team as him, and I think it's Amari Barrett.
Yeah.
That's why I think Millwood is so good.
Yeah.
I think that Amari Barrett, what he does for Millwood, he gets accolades, but not enough, because the kid is a winner. The kid is tough. The kid will do anything it takes to win. He sacrifices his body. We talked about that with Denton, but I said it a few times now. He's 6'4", plays like he's 7'1". He deflects shots, blocks shots, alters shots.
Long arms, length for days, and I'd say this too. He's not. I would say he's not the sexy pick, because he does all the little things that might not always show up on a stat sheet. He's a winner, and I also think too he kind of does anything the team needs him to do. He'll score. He'll go get that rebound. He'll get a loose ball. He does a lot of. He'll guard the best player on the other team. But he may not always show up in the stats as being the number one guy scoring all the points. Even though he does well there. He's so long, though. His arms and his ability and defensively is what I really, really like about him the best.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because he can go into the paint and dominate, but then he can get out on the perimeter and defend as well as anybody else in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he can guard multiple positions. So
exactly, you hit a nail on the head. It may not be sexy to those that don't really know what they're looking at, but if you do, you see all the things he does, and that's why I had to say this is why Millwood is so good, is having two possible player of the years on the same team. It speaks volumes to what their success has been this year. So wanted to give Amari Barrett his love because he deserves it. Obviously, I got to run down the list of guys that I think should be on this. I definitely think Denton Forsythe's got to be in the mix.
Yeah.
We said that. Obviously, Isaiah went head to head with Dale, so some people are going to say, okay, that put him up here. I would understand that. But if we're looking at body of work throughout the season, Denton Forsythe would absolutely be in that mix.
Definitely should be in.
Obviously, Deshaun Denson is quietly one that not many people are talking about, is having a dominant senior season for Midwest City. Midwest City will be there at some point in 5A, and I know Deshaun Denson going to bring it every single night. Yep. There's not a time when
he has been for the last 2 years coming into this year. Been an outstanding performer, done well. They've won a state title with him on the team. So, yeah, you can't count him out. And I think I like that pick. I think he's definitely.
I think that I'm just looking at guys that teams project to possibly make it to state, and then they're also having good statistical seasons as well. So you got to keep those guys in there. I also think, and this is a kid that not as many people talk about because he plays at a prep school, but I think Parker McDaniel would be in that mix if we just, if we could narrow our vision and not just look at public school or OSSAA school, and we could look at prep schools. Parker McDaniel's having a hell of a season.
And you're looking at performance and what he's done against some of the better players and the better teams in the country, because obviously he's playing more of a national, regional, national schedule. And he's got Power Fives calling. I've had some reach out to me and ask me, hey, what do you think of this kid? And, I basically, told them what I thought, and then came back, watched more film, and gave them more of a specific, read down of what my thoughts are. And so it's I think he's easily in that conversation. If he's not at prep school, he's a top 3 kid immediately today on that in that discussion. No doubt about it.
But I think you just nailed it with the saying going against national competition. So that if we're looking at that now, he's only a sophomore, so we know that may hinder as far as the votes or the picks or whatever. He may not get that look, but absolutely what you just said, he's playing at an extremely high level against some of the top players in the country. That is noted in my mind. And obviously, like you just said, the type of coaches that are reaching out to you who have called me, there's a reason why they're reaching
Yep.
out. So
Yep.
he's one of the best shooters in the country. So,
Yep.
and he's got great size, strong frame, good kid. I love everything about Parker McDaniel. But I know most people won't mention him in that, but he should be mentioned
Yes.
in that.
100% agree.
Obviously, another one, and we mentioned him earlier. Okarchi's Jet Mugenberg should be in that mix. Can't, multiple state championships. Kid drops 40 points every night. And then when they say, well, he does it in Class A, well, yeah, but then when he went up against a 6A team in the Tournament of Champions, he had 49. He dropped on the head. So it's not like he can't do it against 6A
Yep.
teams.
And I there's always this argument, well, did he do it this year? It's not an overall award. I think it's a body of work. And then are you consistently winning? He's consistently winning state titles. And then this year, I think it's going to be very much the same thing. I anticipate they'll probably win Class A, win a state title. He'll have a back-to-back on his hands, or is it 3? He won last year. Did they win the year?
I think they won 2. I think this will be going for number 2.
So if he's going for 3 in a row, and then with the performances he's had, obviously playing in the TOC, he's had some fantastic performances over the years in that as well. So you can't not put him in that. I think he's
and just picked up a UCO offer too, which is nice to see. Jet is a great kid. Jet lit up prospects camp. He made our top 20 game. I talked to him and his family. I knew it last season, and I definitely knew it at the beginning of this year prior to the season. What I saw him do at the camp, and why I bring that up is because we were going against the best kids in the region, not just the area. And Jet fit looked like he not only did he fit in, but he was above a lot of those guys. He's a legit dude at 6'3". He's a real
he's player. A good player. He's a good player, and I think he'll fit in well as a catch and shoot guy at the next level. Play some defense. I think he checks some boxes. You won't have to worry about him in the classroom. He does a lot of things well that I think will help him at the NCAA level. So
absolutely. Jock Mitchell got to be in the calling for this. Booker T. Washington was a nationally ranked team. I understand they just took their first loss. I'm not taking Jock Mitchell out of that. But again, people are going to say Isaiah went head to head. And that's why I say Wilkes will have the resume at the end of this if it continues to go on, because I don't see Millwood really losing it. A game going on the rest of their schedule. It's going to take something crazy for that to happen. So
yeah, that's where the 3-point line is going to have to come in and being able to handle pressure, because they're going to give you pressure when it gets tight. They're going to give you pressure, and you're going to have to be able to shoot the basketball when it's time to perform.
But Jock Mitchell, no question. When we talk top players in Oklahoma, got to be in there. Tyson Pogai needs to be in the conversation. Continues to put up crazy numbers.
It's like NBA Jam type numbers. He's
super skilled. We've talked about him so much. I've given you every adjective towards Tyson. The kid is a walking bucket, but the ball is on a string. He's such a gifted, crafty scorer.
I would argue that he's probably one of the most talented, skilled players in the state. You've named some really good ones, and so I'm not going to take anything away from those. But I would say Tyson's skill set, as far as ball handling capabilities and shooting the basketball, and his agility, his quickness.
Yeah,
I would argue that he's at the top of those categories, no matter who you're discussing. I think it's like I said earlier, and I said this. He's an unbelievable player. It's just always difficult. How do you got to get that team? And that team's really talented too, by the way. That sophomore team is very, very talented. So it'll be interesting to see. They could be a team that might slip into the state tournament. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's really going to come down to a couple pieces there within Southmore to perform outside of Tyson, because what you're going to get with Tyson.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. And the common theme is typically the players that win that award are teams that won.
Correct.
So I could go into like David Douglas at East Central. If they were to come up and win 5A, then a guy like that to me jumps himself up into
Bingo.
that mix.
Yeah, because individually, you're like you've been saying for years now. Honestly, his skill and talent is high.
Yes,
I
but
mean,
he's only a sophomore, so he'll have 2 more opportunities. But
right.
again, it's going to be, does your team go far enough for you to be in that mix for
Yep.
that award?
Yep.
Obviously, player to player, you're good enough, and that's where I go. Guys like, let's just say PC North or Edmond Santa Fe wins this. Well, then if Edmond Santa Fe wins the whole thing, a guy like TJ Newton, who's their leading scorer, would be in that mix. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win it as a sophomore, but if you win it in the biggest class in Oklahoma
Yes.
and you're the best player on that team, you may be looked upon that.
You've earned that.
Murray,
You've earned that opportunity when you do that. That's absolutely
yeah,
the case.
Keaton Murray at PC North, they got a few guys that have played really well. But I'm just saying it's hard to project that because you don't know who's going to win the state championship. But what you do know is that Millwood is probably so far of a favorite that Isaiah Wilkes is not going really out on a limb by saying
Right.
he's
No, you're right. That's probably easily one of the top 2 or 3. It does not matter. He's going to be in that conversation and should be in that conversation. I would say another one that you put right after him would be Denton Forsyth. I think those are probably, and then Amari Barrett would even be. I would say those 3 right now, maybe Jock Mitchell, those 4. Those are the 4 that I would say. And then we're not going to have the South Central prep conversation because I think if that were a part of it, he'd be a top 3. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
If you just get into overall lists of players and then you can start getting into that. But what will be hard for people in Oklahoma to wrap their brain around, because the prep schools thing, and I have this conversation, off of social media, Oklahoma, it's hard to wrap our minds around prep schools because they're new. They're kind of new to the scene. So we just said a lot of times the winner of the Gatorade Player of the Year is off of the winning team. It's hard to judge on a prep school team because they're not playing it for the gold ball here. So it's just got to be your eye test and something like that. But obviously Parker McDaniel would be in that mix. A number of guys I just went through. And listen, there's a few guys we probably left off. I understand that. We're trying to give you the teams that are probably betting favorites to win and their top player, because that's the odds-on likely chances of someone actually winning that award.
Yep. I would love
to
I'll
give my 2 cents here in a month or two. Whenever I'll give my 2 cents, and I always do, on who should win that award to the right people. But it doesn't matter because it's not a one-person race and who picks it and all that stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. And again, all awards have politics, but certain things you can't deny. The best team overall in the state and the best player should win it every year.
Yep.
That's the way it should be.
I mean, that's how Montanati won it his year when they won. They beat Dale and obviously Dayton Forsyth. Those 2, you could have went either way. Always that's where the body of work thing in the year and all that.
Went head to head that year.
They went head to head, and it was a barn burner down to the very last second. And obviously, Owasso won that game against Dale and one of the epic. That's probably one of the top basketball games I've ever witnessed personally. And there's been some good ones, but that one is high on my list.
And then I was just going to say, and then Jalen wins it last year. They didn't win the state championship, but they beat nationally ranked teams in front of nationally televised audiences with national quote unquote scouts and all that stuff. And people that make these award picks were seeing that. So that's going to register in their head. Well, that's got to be the best kid in Oklahoma. He came out here and did it against some of the best players in the country. So obviously all that gets wrapped up. We wanted to go over it. It's early. There's still room. If Norman wins 6A, Bo Billingsley could be in that mix. Like
Jason Robinson could be in it. You could name,
The winners and the best player on that team have an option. We're just saying we think that right now, at least I know I'm saying, I believe Isaiah Wilkes is in the front runner for that.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And I want to say this too. I'd be remiss because I kind of went back and forth this week. I want to give a personal shout out to Gideon Holt. He was one of the players of the game in that Piedmont game. That kid is the soul of any team he plays for. I want to say this because I would do this about any kid if I knew specifically as much as I know about Gideon. I would say this for anybody if I knew somebody this much. That kid is glue. He can shoot the basketball and he'll play defense till he's blue in the face. That kid deserves an opportunity to play at the next level somewhere where somebody wants a guy that will show up and practice hard and be the heart of your basketball team. That kid is the real deal. I hope and pray that he gets an opportunity to play at the next level, because I promise you, coaches will not regret it. I had him in our program, and I'm not just doing this, oh, hey, I only talk about our guys because we haven't talked about any of my guys, and that's fine. But I want to say this on this podcast because he is legitimately what every coach in America wants on a team, and I just hope he gets that opportunity because they will not regret it. They will not regret it. So
No,
shout
no,
out to Gideon.
I agree with that. I think that he's a definite kid that's deserving of a spot somewhere at the next level, and I absolutely think it will happen. Yeah, I think if you're not, obviously we say this at the end of every pod, if you're not tapped into the Flagrant 2 podcast, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you call it, YouTube, get them YouTube numbers up. I'm going to say it every time. Our Apple and Spotify will blow it out of the water. Our numbers are huge there. We got to get them numbers up on YouTube. We are going to continue to work on that. All you got to do is click that button, subscribe.
Yep.
We ain't making no money
It's
off
easy.
that.
It ain't going to cost you anything. Just click it, please.
We don't care about that. We just want to make sure that as many people can see it as possible. We love when we're out and about the community. They let us know that they love seeing that we talked about the players and break them down in depth. We talked about it. We do it our own way. Me and Coach Barber, we stay in our lane and we do what we know is best for the kids and what we know will work. Everybody has their own style. We think that this is the way that we can help the most kids in this setting. So that's why we do this the way that we do. So all we ask for you to do is click that subscribe button on all of our social media platforms. If you're not following Okie Ball, then I've said this a million times. I don't know what you're doing, because in my humble opinion, it's the best basketball platform in Oklahoma. It might be the best basketball platform in the world, but I don't know. That's just me speaking. That may be BS. I don't know, but
you do it for the right reasons, Chris. You do it for the right reasons, and it's not about you. It's about the players. That's what we do. The players platform, like you talk about for your brand, and that's why we do this. We do it for the players to get an opportunity to realize their dreams, and to whatever we can do to promote that, we do that. We don't do that for ourselves. We're not getting paid to do this podcast. We do it for the guys so coaches can hear what we have to say and maybe ask more and find out about these players. That's really what this is all about. It's not about people knowing who you and I are. I coach an AAU program and have for a number of years. You've been a scout and do those things. We talk to coaches. Coaches value our opinion and what we think and how we do things. That's why we're doing this, because we already have those connections, and so we want to use that to benefit these young people so they can realize their dreams, and obviously for the parents out there listening, so that your kids can have free college, because we all know that it's not cheap. It's only getting more expensive, and it's outrageous, quite honestly. And if we can help parents with that, because their young men have worked hard for years for that opportunity, that's why we're doing this. So
yeah, I mean, one of the things that I always say is like I don't want your child, like I'm not trying to make it off of your child. I want your child to try to be able to make it off of the platform that I built and the platform that we've built with this. I want them to be able to use this as a tool to help them get to the next level. That's really what this is about and always
all
has
of it
been.
is.
I don't care if I ever get a pat on the back. That's never what this is about. This is about what we do it for. And that's the journey of continuing to help these young men reach their dream of playing college basketball at the next level. But while they're in high school, let's point them out.
Yes.
Let's celebrate.
Yes.
Let's celebrate the game of basketball and the purity and the beautifulness of the game. Let's advance the game and continue to do things like that, because that's what it's really all about. I always say this: how many people you impact in your life before you're gone is really the only thing that matters in life. And you'll figure that out one way or another. And one day or another, you'll figure that out.
I will just end on that right there, Chris, because you can't say it any better than that.
Oklahoma, we out. Peace.